What's up, gang? It's Dominic D'Angelo. It's a Tuesday. I'm Bad Free Shows. I'm of SCScoops.com. I'm of OneTrueSport.com TV as well. But I'm here with Robert Karpelis to talk a little bit of Monday Night Raw out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Robert, you're the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, man.
Dom, I appreciate that you're still wearing your Jets hat. Gotta love that semblance of loyalty. The curse that you brought onto Aaron Rodgers and his household continues 2 years in a row. And for some random reason, a Jaws shirt, which has nothing to do with our program today. But we will say hi to some of the folks joining us for our program today. Alt Jake said, just made it. Good morning. Dre Owen said, welcome to the R&I show. Gunther had line of the night. Oh, we'll get to that. Joseph Wade Walters, morning, fellas. Go Pokes.
Pokes, who's the Pokes?
I don't know. Not the Popes, the Pokes. And Mark Marin with two R's. No, not the one that Dan St. Germain was on, who plugged Working Stiff, so I can't shake the name of that podcast ever. Said, good noon, Playboys.
Well, thanks, Mark. Maron, what the fuck? Oh,
Dom, you are super glitchy today, so let's see how this is going.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're on like dial-up internet, my dude. Making it happen. You're hardwired. Well, yeah. Your wires are crossed, my boy. Joseph Wade Walters clarified it's the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Who can you hear? Can you hear me or Robert, gang? Because Robert's freezing on me. I'm freezing on Robert. What's going on? Give us some feedback in the chat here.
So I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear me. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah, whatever. Well, we're gonna talk as if we can both hear each other.
Yep.
It's look, we're like Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore, a long-standing duo. That dude is so good,
isn't he? I was gonna ask later on about his performance, but what do you think of the second follow-up with Joe on this episode of Raw?
I thought he was great. I thought he felt very comfortable. I thought he had a lot of control, and they threw a lot of ridiculous nonsense at him that he conveyed like this is a real presentation.
Yeah.
I think the only real glitch was when he said that they have a chance to play for the Intercontinental title. But I think that's just the football.
That's the football talk. He was just there doing College Game Day and stuff like that, so you got to give him a little bit of a break. But yes, I really like what he does. He adds a whole nother element to a pro wrestling product. Harkens back to a lot of the classic voices, but ties in sports and makes it feel like a big deal. Knows when to amp up the tension and knows when to settle it down too. He's just very, very good at what he does. And
he's no Rod Trongard, but he gets it done.
He gets it done for sure, Robert. But let's talk a little bit of WWE Raw and what went down. We kicked it off with the street fight. Got our first actual glimpse again of Nikki Cross without the mask on. But a lot of chaos going on in this bout. The Wyatt Six ultimately get a definitive win against Chad Gable and his crew of American Made. Jeez, I almost forgot the name. But with a little help from Uncle Howdy. What'd you think of this opening bout, Robert? Did it set the tone for the rest of the evening?
It was an interesting choice to open with this. They know they're going up against Monday Night Football, so you want to give people an attraction to tune into so that they're not tempted to go click over to see what's going on Monday Night Football. So I do like that as an idea. The Wyatt Six, we're seeing that they work best in these sort of unique, specialized matches. I don't know how thrilled I'm going to be to see them in like Joe Gacy dressed like zombie Dennis the Menace, wrestling in a straight up singles match. They need a lot of the gaga. They need a lot of the nonsense. This feels like the end of this particular feud. I think American Made can pivot and say, look, we are Olympians. We are athletes. We are trained wrestlers. We're not here to be in garbage matches. We're not here to, choke each other with plastic bags and inject each other with needles.
What?
Didn't happen last night at all. Somehow you had a street fight without any of that, which is wild. And no thumbtacks to the vagina. So that's a plus.
Yeah.
But, so I think they can then reset and say, look, we are in-ring technicians. That's what we're here for. We're done with all the zombie nonsense. And then eventually you can pivot the Wyatt Six over to the Judgment Day because that's where the women's title is and that's where the tag titles are. So that may be the next thing, not to mention the fact that Finn Balor was I believe, the first opponent for Bray Wyatt when he was the Fiend.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even consider that. But yeah, that's a great point. And then you think about what they've done with their family. It gives the Wyatt Six more incentive to go after them because of the transgressions they did against Damian Priest, even Dominic, what he's done against Ray. Certain things like that come into play. So Judgment Day seems like the perfect faction for them to go up against next and have a good feud with. So looking forward to that. Let's keep going with Raw, though, here. We had Finn Balor versus the the segment between those two. So pretty good setup up for Bad Blood. Where do you kind of see this going for Bad Blood? We'll give our predictions obviously later on once the month rolls on. But where do you see this in the immediate, Robert?
A little surprised we're getting this match, if I'm being perfectly honest, just because I don't know that it necessarily is a pay-per-view worthy match at the moment. I said the same thing about All Out, so it's only fair to kind of say it here. The Finn Balor Damian Priest story was less compelling than the Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan story. So I feel like you could have gotten to Finn versus Priest as a Raw main event, and it would have been okay. Finn Balor having to restate the manifesto of, I would have been champion, but for the fact that I had to carry you, and then you had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and it was a distraction. They have not done enough to really establish Finn of late as the true dominant force here in Judgment Day since the turn to warrant the singles match. It kind of feels like Priest leapfrogged him. It was an odd decision to put them both in the same ring. What they had kind of been telling was Priest, all he wanted to do was get his hands on Finn Balor.
Right.
So for them to stand there and have a casual conversation was odd. Priest, a babyface, but there was a moment there when Finn goes, what about the blueprint? Or you forgot about the I think it was the
playbook.
I wrote the word the playbook. That's right. And it was just the playbook, and then Damien steps on the line and goes, "What do you mean playbook?" The barometer of bad line reading that I will always measure is from one of my favorite movies of all time, Mallrats. There's a scene where TS comes running up to yell, "Where's Brandy?" It is the worst line reading of any movie possibly of all time. And he says it twice. And it is terrible. And that is always the example I've ever used with wrestlers in terms of how to not deliver certain lines in a promo. And that's exactly what Damian Priest did here. What playbook are you talking? And then they ran in and attacked him. It felt a little disjointed. The Rhea Ripley run-in was good. Priest covering her body to protect her was a nice heroic moment. Jey Uso coming running out for the save, and then the little subtle moment where he's holding her hand. I thought was well done, planting those seeds. But this is another feud that or storyline that I feel like, hey, we got to get to a conclusion here.
Yeah, I think I kind of would have liked to see more of the cat and mouse game between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. I think that was an intriguing aspect of this. And to your point, they kind of had it right in the ring there, and now we're going to get it right at Bad Blood. It kind of speaks to what you just mentioned, too, about the Wyatt Six moving into probably the potential feud next for them guys. And, I like the dynamic of a heel Finn Balor, but the Judgment Day without a Rio, without a Damian Priest, it kind of feels a little lost. Or I can see the unraveling of it all, where it's not as tight as it used to be. I don't know what they can do to kind of get it recharged, especially if they're going to further with Damian winning the match at Bad Blood. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do like a heel Finn Balor and stuff like that. So, it feels a little soon, I feel, to have this match almost, I feel. But, it does kind of make sense if you're creating a playbook for what you got going on with WWE and the storyline telling. So,
by the way, the solution for Judgment Day is merge them with Karrion Kross's floundering stable.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think putting Karrion Kross with those guys could be an interesting position. Maybe for all we know, look, maybe they have something cooked up for this Finn Balor Damian Priest feud, and we're going to be like, this has reignited everything. What a game changer!
It's a great point.
But we'll see. We try to have faith in what Hunter's doing because for the most part, the execution for Hunter has been tremendous.
It has. I thought you were going to say excellent and segue into the Bret Hart thing. But
No, because I looked to see if that was next, and it wasn't.
did you pivot?
I did. I
right
checked.
in the
I
middle?
checked.
Okay.
I checked.
Well,
I rechecked, and I checked again.
well, what they have been doing with the game plan with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill really sets up the women's tag division in a good way, I think. And this match kind of furthered that. They took on Unholy Union in a rematch for those titles, and they got a definitive win against those two. Good move on their part. I really do think they define what they should be doing with the women's tag division and kind of making them showcase the crown jewel of the WWE Women's Tag Division. So, Robert, what did you think of this match, and what do you think of the tag division moving forward with the women?
The match had a couple of clunky parts,
mm-hmm.
much like our show sometimes, so we're good with that. But overall, yes, the right people won. You can now move on from Isla Dawn and Alba Fire to what looks like Damage Control seems to be the next immediate threat. You still have Chelsea and Piper that are floating around out there. There's obviously the Pasta Fusion Collective who can challenge that at some point. They can elevate some folks from NXT. There's a lot of places you can go with this. And it, again, gives Jade a number of reps in the ring to get comfortable where there's less of a spotlight on her, less pressure on Jade to deliver, because you do have Bianca, though it was, ironically enough, the more experienced Bianca that had the more clumsy moments.
Yeah, it is interesting. But hey, they're a team, and Robert, we're a team, and we have our own share of clumsy moments. So we understand. Basically, we're like Bianca and Jade of pro wrestling journalism. I'm going to say that.
Oh, I'm not referring to myself as a wrestling journalist.
Yeah, you're an honorary one, Robert.
That is the meanest thing you could have possibly said. Short of calling me a Jets fan, that may have been the meanest thing you could have said to me. But someone who was mean throughout the night was Braun Breaker.
He was mean, Robert. He was really mean,
and I loved it.
I did too.
I love this because here's the thing about the Braun Breaker character, and this was indicative of why he works. Whether he's a babyface or a heel, he's Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
He is an athlete who is a jerk.
Yeah.
And there are athletes who can be jerks. I'm sure there's someone you could think of that at high school or college or I've worked in the pros. Some players are great. Some players are kind of dicks. There's a little bit of an ego thing going on with him, and the way that he knew to rile up Braun Strowman and push the buttons with him and him and Bronson Reed, him getting in Dunn's face.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't call me Butch." Okay, Pete. And it was just like, ooh, calling the dude Pete made that seem like the biggest insult on the planet, which was tremendous. And then, poking Dragunov, he's a babyface or a heel. He's just going to be there. He's just going to be a jerk that stirs people up. He's just going to be, as Wrestling Old Head points out, Ben Affleck's character in Mallrats.
Yeah,
which is great. It won't hide. I keep trying to hide that comment. But yes, Braun Breaker will beat you up in the back of a Volkswagen.
That's right. Or he's also like Ben Affleck in Dazed and Confused. How about that?
No, that character was a little dumber. There was a sinister element to Ben Affleck's character in Mallrats.
Yeah, there was.
Yes.
Braun adds a good vibe of I know how to push your buttons too. I think he does a very good job at that too.
He and also you know what it is? You know what his delivery was, especially during the Braun Strowman moment. He's John Barenthal in The Bear.
Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that, so I can't attest to that.
You haven't watched The Bear?
No, I would just get too hungry watching it, I think.
No, Dom, that's your homework. Okay. In between remembering to post this show and the other shows that we send you and producing the 45 other podcasts that you do.
Is this a plug moment?
This is not a plug. This is a plug for The Bear. I got nothing. But I think, look, The Bear is a hell of a show. I don't know if it'll be remembered as the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But in terms of how a TV show is done, it is the excellence of execution.
Man, well,
Am I
funny you
lobbing this
mentioned.
up enough for you?
Yeah, funny you mentioned that, Robert, because Bret Hart was on Raw because they were in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Real quick, got to point out Ron Ward pointing out and promoting this show on his others.
That's right,
Dude,
I
there's a
need to
groundswell. There's a ground. Yes, you need to write this as you're writing on your hand.
mm-hmm. Symbolism.
You're the all-time great.
Thanks. So is Bret too, and he came out. He came out and had a few words for the Calgary crowd, but then Gunther interrupted him, and he had some words for Bret the Hitman Hart, saying he was one of his favorite wrestlers, but his all-time favorite is Bill Goldberg, and quite the great reaction, quite the line, really defines Gunther as this another button-pushing heel. And he's just really good in this role. What did you think of this? Sami Zayn comes out too. We'll get to that in a second. But I kind of want to think of your exchange between Gunther and Bret Hart.
What I love is that the same motion you use for writing notes is also button pushing.
That's it.
You are a versatile actor.
That's it.
Look, Bret got the pop. He looked a little confused. It was smart for WWE, I think, to leak out to your close personal friend Sean Ross Sapp and others that Bret was under the weather, and there was a chance that he might not have even been there, to cover up for the fact that he looked disoriented, or as Working Stiff co-host Mike Lawrence said, he looks like the tree in Pocahontas.
I've never seen that.
It's actually not very good, but still, you had an odd childhood, Dom.
I did,
but yeah, you gotta watch some of the Disney movies. Anyway, Bret establishing how great Canadian champions are, and then Gunther coming out, and Gunther earnestly talking about how much he loved Bret as a kid, and talking to one of my heroes, and the crowd was booing Gunther when he was saying nice things. Like that's how you know. That's how you know this dude is super over. They're booing him for saying positives. The Goldberg line was the moment where I went, you know what? I got to roll up shop on the WWE Creative_ish account because it ain't getting better than that.
No,
that is the best. That is the best use of a legend, where you're bringing someone in that has a lot of cachet, has a lot of value, has a lot of nostalgia. You're using something against him that still feels very raw and fresh, which is the Goldberg piece. And then this brings out Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn, just to really stack the deck, comes out in the Johnny Gaudreau jersey, which was a nice touch, as if that crowd was not already going to be super over cheering for Sami. You get the confrontation. Gunther blows him off. You get a little bit of physicality. Eventually, I have a feeling we might get this match at Bad Blood.
You think so? You know, I have a hunch too. Maybe
I'm not sure. Look, I'm not a betting man sometimes, but Dom, if I were, there are things that I'm going to be thinking about here. I'm going to be worrying about whether or not Aaron Rodgers, who you cursed this week, is going to be able to throw for more than 300 yards. Is Miami going to score some touchdowns without some of our stars getting arrested unfairly? Guys, check out DraftKings Pick 6, the newest way to compete against others and play fantasy football to win cash with DraftKings. Pick a player and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like yards, touchdowns, catches, and more. Get your picks right, and you'll win cash. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code RUMOR. That's code RUMOR for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits guaranteed, plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. The offer expires September 19th only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gaming. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 years or older. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. 1 per new customer. Reward issued as $50 in non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 6 months. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at NFL.com/terms. Trying to say pick six like that, it's a lot like, I don't know if you watch Only Murders in the Building. Of course you don't. You don't watch television. There was a whole thing in the last season about a patter song of it was a convoluted nursery rhyme of the Pickwick triplets. Yes. So trying to say that and then trying to say the DraftKings pick six. It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
Makes me think of Will Levis actually this week. So pick six. But I have to say, we had some Dragon Lee and some Dominic Mysterio going down.
There was no way you were segueing from one to the other. I love that.
Couldn't do it.
You just abandoned it. You started and you just like, nope, this is what it is.
It's just going to be what happens. Dirty Dom gets the win. Furthers the feud between Judgment Day and what they got going on, obviously. Dragon Lee's kind of just, he's there. He's there. They haven't really built him up too much, despite being with Rey Mysterio and stuff like that. But Dominic does get the tainted win with the help from Liv Morgan. So what do you kind of think of all of this? The mix of LWO, we're going to get Rey Mysterio later on in the evening, and now Dragon Lee losing to Dom.
It's a fine match. It's a good way for Dom to get some heat. I think they need to get Dragon Lee out there and get him some reps and get him more comfortable in the ring. He needs to get him more comfortable cutting promos too. Yeah. His promo was definitely a little weak. This was a nice, like, hey, it's the new masked guy that we want the audience to embrace. Unlike our friends at AEW, they don't have a ton of lucha guys on television. So Dragon Lee can establish his own identity.
Yeah.
And Liv Morgan interfering, she is a serious threat. And as the wrestling old head points out, hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned for Sega.
How about that? I thought that was a miss typo for Vega, but Sega.
No, that's a Mallrat. That's another Mallrats reference. We will just keep making those. He's talking about Hartford, the whale.
Oh, okay.
By the way, speaking of hockey, and because it happened before and they brought it up here, WWE did a really nice tribute to Johnny Gaudreau and his brother who tragically passed away. He did play in Calgary and then he ended his career playing in Columbus. But it was really nice that they had Jackie Redmond, who obviously has been a voice of the NHL for a number of years, to be able to have that authenticity. They showed the memorial, the makeshift memorial that was outside of the Saddle Dome. WWE doesn't often do something like that. It's a nice sign of what they're doing in the Triple H era. I was really, really happy that they took the time to do that. And then they followed it up with Pure Fusion Collective versus Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and a surprise third entrant. The internet was convinced it was the return of Raquel.
Yes.
This is it. It was not, Dom. Who was it?
It was Natalya.
Guys, if the sight of the Pure Fusion Collective didn't make you reach for the remote, seeing Natalya come out there probably sealed the deal for some of you.
Okay, explain. I just want your vision of Natalya. What is your thoughts on her?
I love Natalya. She's super sweet, really talented. They said there, like, she's been competing for, wrestled everybody over the last 20 years. Like, she's a little long in the tooth for what is in the WWE presentation. She's one of those people I think would have benefited from either going to TNA or going to AEW and getting a little bit of a fresh paint of coat. But they used her in this match. It was long, and Joseph Wade Walters points out what I was going to point out, which is good thing Raw is going to 2 hours to cut Natalya out. Now it's just as good a time as any to touch on that, Dom.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, they made the announcement during Raw.
What if you said no? What if you were like, no chance?
You know what, Robert? Let's wait.
You.
Maybe we'll cover it at my leisure. Going to 2 hours, making that big announcement, starting October 7th, I believe the date is, and then they're closing it out. That's how their series finale, network finale, is going to end. 2 hour Raw. Robert, we were all excited in the Working Stiff group text, and I think it's a good move. I wonder if this will be a litmus test for them moving to Netflix. Will they continue that, or will they go back to 3 hours starting on Netflix as well? But what do you think of this? I think this is a good move, and will elevate an already good product that Raw has been doing. So.
So this is what starts the bridge period of time. The Raw contract ends the week prior on USA Network. So as part of the negotiation to stay on there, they'll keep him on starting in October 7th until the end of the year for 2 hours. My guess is USA is going to want to launch something at 10 o'clock that they can then use and promote Monday nights after Raw makes the jump elsewhere.
Good call.
So I don't know if this will be a permanent move. I, as an old man who's very happy to get to go to sleep at 10 o'clock instead of 11, am ecstatic. And yes, it will mean getting to cut some of the more extraneous segments like the Pure Fusion Collective. What they won't cut will be the Drew McIntyre stuff.
No, and as they should not, because Drew is very, very good, and he exemplified that at this promo this time around. Really leaning in to, hey, everybody, cheer CM Punk, go on, and he starts chanting along too, and he's like, it's going to be in memoriam. Just really good heel work here. Instead of getting a CM Punk appearance, we get an Adam Pearce appearance, who says, hey, you are going to be facing CM Punk at Bad Blood in a Hell in a Cell. And you guys are finally going to settle the score because CM Punk is not done with you, Drew. Fun stuff. Get you excited. This is kind of what we wanted to see between these two, and this feud culminate in a Hell in a Cell at an appropriate pay-per-view name, PLE name, if you will. But Robert, yeah, what'd you like? What'd you like about this segment? Is there anything you didn't like about this thing?
I liked the stuff with him and Wade. I think that was a good little interplay. It was odd that it was Pierce announcing the Hell in a Cell with Punk not even there. I guess we needed to announce it, needed to get it out there, needed to promote it. But it makes it seem like, Punk is too weak to be here, but he's going to fight you at Hell in a Cell. I don't know. But I'm excited we're going to get the match. It'll be an interesting culmination to it. And very briefly, I really hope WWE pays that girl who made the Punk bracelet, since they're now selling the Punk bracelets. Guys, like let's do the right thing. It seems like they're doing the right thing with New Day in reuniting them and just pretending nothing bad happened in the past. And we're going to get a tag title match for those guys next week.
They've been on quite the odyssey, haven't they? The New Day. Over their 10 years.
I made that joke on Twitter last night. But
did you?
Thank you.
I didn't. Okay, nice. I wasn't seeing that swear. I didn't know.
All right. Pre-report. Doesn't follow on the Twitter. Not promoting it on his other shows.
I'm a mess, Robert. If you can't tell, I'm a freaking mess.
You're a friggin' mess. We got 2 matches left. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it. Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor was a fine storyline-driven match. Those guys can go. Finn is, evil. And it was a way for Rey to not lose, but Finn to still seem like he's sinister. So that's fine. And then in the main event, 4-way match for the Intercontinental title. Dom, what was your takeaway on that one?
It's a good move. Getting Jay in that singles kind of vibe and having him go up against a Braun Breaker eventually here. I think it elevates him and elevates the title a little bit, and elevates Braun, because you want a good quality babyface, and a Jey Uso going up. Nice. You can kind of picture him as an anti-hero, and certainly with Braun Breaker. He's a heel, but I think there's some likability to him too. And so these two going up against one another, I think is a good way to do it. We had Bronson Reed cause trouble for Braun, and so a lot of that coming into play. But yeah, I really liked how they handled this match in the finish with Jay winning. What did you think, Robert?
The Bronson Reed moment was a great highlight. I think him and Braun Strowman, they went from why are these two guys feuding to this is great to all right. Wrestling Old Head is killing it here with fly fat ass fly.
That is good. Yeah.
It is a Mallrats episode across the board, and I'm excited. Jey Uso winning made the most sense. Yes, him and Braun Breaker, with the idea that Jay has not won singles gold. So there's a little bit of that first time ever feeling to it. It's a great story, and it gives Jey Uso something to do when he has not really had anything of late. And maybe he is unsuccessful because of bloodline interference. Who knows? What I do know is we will be back here tomorrow at noon Eastern on on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, the SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows Rumor and Innuendo and Working Stiff. So on behalf of the man who blows load like a shotgun, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
That kid is still on the escalator.